Okay, so firstly, I'd just like to thank you for taking part in this interview. And you're a mayor. And please, could you tell me what kind of school you work in? Like,
I work in after school training center.
okay, training centre. And how old are you, please?
I'm 33,
Okay. And how many years have you been teaching in China, Shenzhen?
12 years.
Wow, that's a long time. And where are you from, please?
I'm from the UK.
Okay. Um, so this interview is based on work and life balance about foreign teachers working in Shenzhen. And so the way I've defined work life balance is basically juggling five aspects of our lives at any one point, like work, family, friends, health, and spirit.
Okay.
Okay. Um, do I have your consent to take part in this interview?
Of course.
Thank you very much. And is it okay if I use the findings in my research?
Yes.
Thank you. Um, so now, please, could you just tell me a little bit about yourself? Things like why you initially came to China, like any experiences working and living in China that stand out to you, this kind of thing.
Okay. Well, I first came to China in about, well, I have to try and work it out. 2011, maybe. Wait, 2012, I think it was. I very first came to China. Um, I came to China because in my country at that time there was the what's it called? Basically, there was no work for people, so there was recession in the
Okay,
UK. So
yeah,
I graduated from university and I was looking for work. Now, the work I wanted to do, I was overqualified to start at the bottom of the ladder inside the
right.
company.
Because you didn't have
And
any work experience.
well, I had work experience, but not in that field that they were exactly looking for. So when I
Yeah,
was at university, I was working part-time.
okay.
Um, so I did have management experience, but I was wanting to be like, a coach for children.
Okay.
Um, so they said I was overqualified to start at the bottom, but then I had not enough experience to start. And at that time, the problem was many people had been losing their job in like managerial positions across the UK.
Yeah,
So they were getting these higher end jobs because obviously they had more experience,
yeah,
which left those newly graduated people with pretty much nothing that they could do except for a menial job,
yeah,
which
like
they
working in a supermarket or something like that.
yeah, so the situation was very, very tough at that time. So I did do some volunteer work in Tehran for a while. Um, but then I went back to the UK. I looked online, I saw this, okay, opportunity in China, and I thought, okay, why not? So
Oh wow, so you just looked online and saw some like job advertisements or that you was able to come to China and teach.
yes, basically, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
My initial plan was only to do it for about
Sorry, hello, I think I might have lost you.
I'm back again, sorry.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it sometimes it happens. It like cuts out after a little while.
Yeah, you were saying your initial plan was only to do and then it cut out.
Yeah, it was only to do about 6 months here.
Oh, right,
Um,
okay.
but I went back home after 6 months. I looked for a job, couldn't find anything,
Yeah.
and they were asking me to come back here, so I came back. Um, yeah. Um, Overall, this question overall, do you like living and working in China? Is a little bit of a tough question
Yes.
because this COVID-19 situation
Mm,
has really thrown everything out of balance.
yeah,
Um, Obviously, things are better now,
yeah,
but you know, I have a family here,
yeah.
and you know, trying to support two young children whilst every single thing is being closed down, and there's not really any support for foreigners in this aspect here. you know,
Do they have support for your wife, for example, from the government in this kind of situation?
not as far as as far as I'm aware, in the private sector, not really, no.
Oh, okay. It's difficult, isn't it?
So like they're saying that there's all this support in place, blah 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 blah, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really feel like that.
Yeah, it didn't really reach you when you needed
Yeah,
it.
and so I'll try before COVID-19,
Okay.
everything everything was fine, everything was fantastic, you know,
Okay.
everything was really good. I do like living here. I think it's um, I think it's easy to save money in a sense here, um, until you have children. Until until you have kids, and until you have to you buy a house and something like that here. I think it's very very easy. For a single person to come and live in China, yes, you can save a lot of money and so on. But then as soon as you try and start living like uh
Settling down, buying a house, having
yeah,
kids,
yeah, as soon as you're trying to properly settling down, as you said, and unless you're in a very very high,
high paid.
high paid, and like they really really want you type of job, then you know it's quite difficult if you have a family and stuff like that here.
What do you mean by that? Is it because of the like maybe the hours that you work as a teacher, so it's difficult to balance that with your family life?
um but it comes down to the point that everything seems to be very open to interpretation. So you might have there's all of these rules and laws in place and things like that,
Okay.
but it's if you're in my position, it's very very hard to just suddenly change where you work and so on, because
Oh,
you've got to think about like where the kids are and things like that.
right. So are you referring to the recent new policies about the training centres? And then you
Well,
was
yeah,
worried about changing your job and it's difficult because you have a family and you have a house and
yeah,
visa.
yeah, all of these things are, yeah, all of these things, there's a lot of things which have to be thought about, and there's not really that much support, and
Mm.
at the same time rules are very very blurry.
Yeah, it's
you
not
know
very clear, is it? Sometimes like it's difficult to know what is what because they had the new policy, didn't they? But and then all the training centres are still running as if normal.
yes, everything just seemed to be very, and everything just happens too quick. There's no like,
Yeah.
there's it's tough for like the support aspect on it, because you have like a degree, you have everything like that, but you're not only just subject to what you have, you're also subject to what the companies have and what they're
Mm.
able to do. So, and also, maybe your prior work, maybe they've done something which you're.
Yeah, it's going to be a detriment to you. Oh, sorry, I think I might have lost you again.
I'm back, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Um,
Yeah, like. like as an example, if you worked in another company before, maybe you don't really know what documentations they've put in.
Okay.
And like I know others who have had
Yeah.
this situation where, a documentation has been put in which they had no idea about.
What
And
like?
uh, as an example, maybe a degree.
Um, but how would the participant not know about that? Is it not their degree?
Not okay. If you go through the company and then the company want you to work for there, and then you just basically go through an agent, and the company goes through an agent, and they did this all prior to these sudden changes in rules, which happened about 6, 7 years ago,
Okay.
right? So like yeah, the things have become stricter, are like more recently, but before then things were very, how to say, um,
Yes.
very simple in a sense.
Yeah.
So I do know some people who had something in there in the system which they knew nothing about whatsoever.
All right.
Because, like 7, 8 years ago, it was just sort of like, oh, can you help me with my visa? Yeah, no problem. Here we go. Okay,
Yeah,
done.
and you didn't know what really went into it. So
Yeah.
has
And
that
then,
been backfiring to people now
yes,
in the future?
yes, it has. Yeah.
Oh no, that's terrible.
Yeah, it has. I know some foreigners here who've had to leave because of something like this.
Wow.
So, because they're asking for the original documentation of the stuff which is in the system.
Which of course they don't have because they had no idea about what even it is.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Oh,
e- even
scary.
even though even though they've got their own degrees and things like that,
Yeah.
they've got their own things, but because basically they've been here for such a long time, you know. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh God, that's really terrible. So they've been here like settled down or got their life going, and then all of a sudden they have to leave.
Yep. Yep. A lot of them have gone over to like places like Thailand, things like that, and then hoping that they'll be able to come back again at some point.
Mm.
So yeah, I think as a teacher here for like balance between life and so on, um, I think it's it's difficult because of when you have your days off.
Mm.
So when you have your days off, other people are at work.
So when do you have
And
your days off?
well, for me, my day off is a Monday.
So you just have one day off.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, so
I,
it's difficult to have like maybe like a social life or meet up with your friends because they're generally going to be at work because it's Monday.
yeah. And then by the time you finish work, even though maybe the hours are not very long every day,
Mm.
but everyone's at work. So, especially if if you're in an area like me where there's not exactly that many foreigners here, you know, it's very, the only things that you can really do, I suppose, either do something by yourself or go somewhere where there's lots of other people there to
Mm.
try and find if there's someone you can talk to. So
So
this for a training center anyway.
would you say that because of your working time and because you live in Longang, you
Yeah.
find it actually quite lonely on your day off, like because you're by yourself, everyone else is at work, and you live in an area where there's not that many foreigners, maybe?
Uh, it's I wouldn't say it's lonely. I have lots of friends, Chinese
Yeah.
friends,
Okay.
but it's how to say, maybe like you asked about spiritually and so on.
Yes.
Maybe it's a little bit tough to let things off your chest because you don't really have anyone who can understand where you're coming from.
Mm.
So
Yeah, you can't just like let your hair down and like have a really good talk with someone and them to really understand you and your situation.
sorry, I'm back again.
Welcome back.
Yeah. Um, yeah, what you're saying is right. Sometimes we need something like a deep, meaningful conversation.
And do you feel that you said that you had a lot of Chinese friends? Do you think that
Yeah.
there's some cultural differences which means that they can't really understand your situation?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Definitely during this whole, COVID-19 situation,
Yeah.
I lost most of my Chinese friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I lost most of them because they just basically treated me like I was the virus. Um,
Oh,
even people I
gosh.
would go with before, I even like security guards in your area. I was living in
Mhm.
the area for a long time, and there was no issue, no problem whatsoever with them at all. And then, the COVID-19 situation came, and then suddenly it was if you're a complete ghost to them. They're going, "Where are you going?" It's like, "I'm going home." And they're just like, "No, you can't come in here. You're a foreigner." You're like, "Guys, I've lived. What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah, you know me. You know who I am. Like we talk every day.
Exactly, and it's just suddenly like this is a bit of a problem now because like well, I felt I was definitely, I don't know about others, but
Yeah.
I was definitely shunned, completely shunned
Mm,
during the pandemic.
yeah.
And if you're, spiritually, if you're trying to talk to people that you count as friends, you want to be able to let stuff off your chest.
Yes.
But at the same time, you want somebody who's got empathy towards what you're saying. You don't
Yeah.
just want someone who's going to get worked up because you say something.
Yeah. I completely understand.
Yeah. So I
Like to
think that,
Chinese friends, it might sound like you're saying something bad about Chinese or Chinese people, but you're not.
yeah,
You're just telling about your personal experience and how you
yeah.
feel.
And the other problem is they obviously, because you're in China, so in a sense you are complaining about China.
Yeah.
But the only reason you're doing that is because you are here. You're not actually complaining about China.
No.
You're complaining about the
Situate.
situation
Yeah.
that's there.
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, yeah, definitely the COVID-19 time, I lost a lot of Chinese friends during that time.
Oh, that's such a shame. I've heard a lot of similar stories, especially when you mentioned the security guards and I also remember there were like signs on like McDonald's and places like that saying no foreigners and it was quite difficult to go outside.
Well, yeah, well, right next to where I work, there's a shopping mall, and they had those scanning codes that you have to do,
Yeah.
but then they added these like barriers in place. They added these actual barriers. So the only way you could get in was by scanning the code and then by scanning this gate. Well, the
Yeah.
problem was it doesn't work for foreigners. It was that Guangdong one. The I Shenzhen was
Yeah.
completely fine. I
Yeah.
Shenzhen worked completely fine, but that Guangdong one just did not work at all. And I know some foreigners, they used, like, as an example, their wife or their girlfriend's code,
Oh gosh.
to be able to get through and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
just thought, well, for me, I don't really want to use my wife's code because how can she be over there and I'm here at the same time? Will that not cause problems? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
But no,
exactly.
there are entire areas which were completely restricted from being able to go in.
Yeah, and did you feel like for example, if you're going into a mall in COVID times and there's lots of people going through, but you would be kind of singled out and,
Yes, every
yeah,
single time, except for in a place that's right next to me. I love that place because the people there know me.
yeah,
and they know me. And I'd had so many arguments with them before, and in the end they would just wave me through. They wouldn't even ask to see my 24-hour code or anything like that. And this made a lot of other Chinese people really angry because they were checking the Chinese, but they weren't checking me.
Oh gosh.
So, but but that was the only, that was it was only in this one place because I was literally going there every single day.
Yeah, so generally it's like the opposite situation, isn't it? Where Chinese are going through quite easily, but the foreigners getting stopped and
Back again.
yeah. Oh,
It keeps losing it. I th in terms of good work-life balance, personally for my work, I think it can be. I think it's okay for me, my work-life balance, except for being able to spend more time with my family.
okay, so how many hours do you work?
Uh, well, I'm at work for
Yeah,
about 12 hours every day.
and that's 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Um, and how many classes do you teach? Like, how many hours do you teach, and how many office hours?
Oh, that's hard to say. Yeah, maybe about 20 hours a week of class,
Okay,
and office hours is basically the rest of the time.
so you've got a lot of really, really, really a lot of office hours then.
Yes, yeah.
Wow. So, do you think having this many office hours is necessary?
No, I really don't think so.
Um, because obviously you've been working as a teacher for 12 years.
Yep.
Um, would you say that like maybe when you first come to China in your first 1 year, yeah, you need office hours because you need to learn how to do it, but and then after that, you know how to teach. Like, does your training center also provide the curriculum?
No, I do all of it. I make my own. So
Okay.
I design absolutely everything.
All
Um,
right.
so the course and everything like that is designed around students' needs rather than just following a book.
Okay.
So, well, in all on, what you're going to say there, I think foreigners when they come to China, they think that they should be treated differently, which I think is not a good thing.
What do you mean they think
So,
differently?
they think they should be treated differently. Like as an example,
Oh, right.
they think that they shouldn't have to do office hours and things like that.
Right.
I disagree with that. I think
Okay.
there should be office hours involved.
Yeah.
I think, however, however, the training centers need to try and expand on what they are teaching kids. So, everything at the moment is just follow a book. This way, it's very, very easy for anybody.
Okay.
But maybe it's not very good for the outcome for the children. But, you know, that's getting into teaching rather than what you're trying to ask about.
Okay, so would you say that your office hours, you
Hmm.
are you still building your curriculum or your office hours, are you just planning for the next class, like your lesson plan? Or
I,
if
I'm I'm planning for the next things. Always
right,
planning for the next thing. So, not necessarily not necessarily the classes or anything, but planning for what's going to happen next.
yeah, that
You know,
makes sense.
thinking about what happened in previous classes, how to improve this, talking to maybe talking to parents, getting feedback from them, things like that. So. Yeah.
So,
I need some office hours, but I do not need as many as I have.
yeah, so like for example, if you just choose one day of working, like how many hours office hours would you have in one day, do you think?
Mm, I think that really depends from day to day. Um, so some days are very, very busy, whereas
Okay,
other days there's nothing. So, you know, that could easily be something that's done to have it more of a, how to say, uh,
flexible.
when it's neat, yeah, yeah, flexible hour type, flexible hours and so
Yeah,
on. Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. And
Um, in return to vacation time, I can have vacation whenever I would like to. Um,
okay, how's that? Oh, did I lose
Hello?
you? Yeah, sorry, I think I might have lost you again.
Sorry about I don't know what's going on. I'm using the WeChat program. I think maybe there's like a timer limit on it, and how long you can talk for.
Oh,
I'm not sure. Um, in terms of reading this, in terms about like, vacation time, I can pretty much have vacation whenever I would like, as long as I, you know, rearrange things.
okay. So by rearrange things, does that mean get someone to cover your classes, blah blah blah.
Yeah, either get someone to cover or, just change them to another day.
Oh, right, I see. So that means that your work is quite flexible with you. Like if you need some time off, got a family emergency or whatever, you can
Yeah.
change your work around. That's quite good.
Yeah. Well, one reason why I stay here right now, I am where I am because I'm able to like leave work if I need to take my kids somewhere.
Okay, that's very good.
And, if I don't have something on, as long as I'm there and I do my job properly, for the classes and so on, I'm allowed to just leave.
Wow.
So, like as an example, my son has a class. I can go and take my son to like go class or something like that, and then come back. It's not a problem.
Oh, that's very good, isn't it?
Yeah, because that means I can help out. I'm not just stuck here. I'm able to actually help out and do some things, and also be able to bond with my children. On a bicycle or something. Yeah.
Oh, that's really good, and I think that's actually quite unusual. Like, not sure
Yes.
how many other training centers would be that flexible.
Oh, I don't think any others would be. I think about receiving positive feedback from my employees. Normally, I don't get any feedback whatsoever
Oh, right, okay.
until something happens, and then it's either I have done an absolute terrible job
Mm,
or I'm doing an absolutely amazing job.
okay.
It's very much,
Extreme.
yeah, it's complete extremes in there. Um, and sometimes things are very, very last minute. So you don't really know anything about it, anything that's going on, and then suddenly you're told that all of this extra work needs to be done.
Yeah, so you're not notified and then it's on the spot and then stressful.
Yeah, yeah.
And would you say that when you do receive positive feedback, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel quite motivated and like valued, things
Um,
like that?
mm, uh, from my company, it doesn't really make any difference for me,
Okay,
to be honest, because as an example, it's my job. As far as I'm concerned, all I'm doing is my job.
okay.
Um, and normally I just think about what is the company getting from this. So obviously the company's making money. So, you
Yeah.
know, so for me, the feedback from the company about what I'm doing doesn't really affect me that much.
Okay, so it doesn't motivate you or demotivate you.
No, the main thing that motivates me is the feedback, from the students and their parents.
Yeah.
For me, that's more important.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So they can see your real impact. So,
Yeah. Yes.
um, it sounds like your company gives you a lot of flexibility, so they help you balance your work and life quite well, don't they? Saying you can go and take your son to school and stuff like that.
Yeah. Hello.
You're back.
Yeah. 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 I think so. Uh, Actually, a lot of my colleagues are actually my good friends here in China.
Okay.
So we do a lot of training together and things like that. Also, whilst I'm at work. So that's good for us.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Um, However, sometimes you do feel a little bit left out.
Okay. In what way? Oh, maybe because they're speaking Chinese and Chinese meetings, etc.
Yeah.
I see. And you just mentioned training. What do you mean by that? Does it mean like teacher training?
Oh, no, no, sports training.
Oh, right.
Sports training. Yeah.
So,
So
I,
so
I,
we have like in the afternoon we have training, sports training, so like fitness training and so on.
right. And you mean the teachers have sports training?
Yes, yes.
Wow, I've never heard this before.
Yeah.
Wow.
So basically, we bought a whole bunch of equipment to do like HIIT training,
Okay.
and we take it outside, and we do a circuit,
Wow.
and maybe do it like 2 or 3 times. It's not compulsory to do, but yeah, if you want to, you can. If you don't want to, it's no problem.
Wow. And is this quite good for like teacher morale, team building? We know that exercise is good for mental health. So do you think this is really a positive thing to implement in the work?
Um, I think if that's the sort of thing that you like, then yes.
Right.
If it's the sort of thing that you like to do, then it's fantastic because it's there. You don't have to think about, okay, going to the gym or something like that.
Mm.
I'm going to be doing this at work. The only problem is sometimes you're too tired before you start doing your class. you know that's the only problem with it. Um, so yeah.
So is this
Um,
HIIT implemented by the school or was this an initiative from teachers?
from teachers
Okay.
that we decided to just do it ourselves. So
And the school was okay with that
yeah, yeah,
because you're doing that in working time.
yeah, yeah. They're completely fine with it.
So if you didn't do that, would it also be okay to everyone go out and drink coffee in working time?
No, I don't think so. I think that's a bit like one of those ones, okay, everyone could go and play on their phone for, an hour or 2 hours. I don't think that would be okay.
But yeah, this is actually a really positive thing, and exercise is, yeah, we know it's
Yeah.
good for you and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's because of what it is. I think the reason why is, this is something that was agreeable for everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And do you think that this helps you create a stronger bond with your colleagues?
Um, Not really, no. What really creates the stronger bond with the colleagues are the days off or when we go out together. Um, uh, but I do think it means that it can ease tension and
Okay.
it can release stress and things like that.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
So as an example, if you had a meeting which was a little bit, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't do this, you don't do that, then in the early afternoon, you can run it off.
Yeah, and then you're tired when you have class.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, earlier you said that your motivation is when you have feedback from the kids and the parents. So do you
Yeah.
believe you have a positive impact or like a meaningful, fulfilling job?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
Um, Sometimes we are subject to um, too much about school, if you know what I mean. So, like as an example, they have English class at school,
Yeah,
and then they don't do well in the English test or something, and then you're sort of blamed.
even though you're the training center and not the school. Yeah, you're getting
Exactly.
blamed for different things. Yeah.
Yeah, you get blamed for something which got absolutely nothing to do with the school at all. Um, and I think this is this is one area which is, you know, it all depends on the parents and
Yeah.
what they want. If you've got people who can understand you are not the school,
No,
then I think it's meaningful because
I think I might have lost you again. Oh, you're back.
yeah, I'm back again. If, if you've got people who can understand, you're not the school, and you're not trying to teach them how to, you know, say basic things, um, then it's completely fine. However, when those people are using it to try and push the school score,
Mm. Yeah,
it just doesn't feel meaningful at all because the school books, especially, the younger grade school books, it's like going back to kindergarten from about 7, 8 years ago
yeah.
before they cancelled doing English classes in kindergarten.
Oh, right. Okay. So
So,
would you say that since the rules 7, 8 years ago, that the general English level has really suffered because they're not learning the basics in kindergarten anymore?
um, I think it's yes. I definitely think so. Yes,
Mm. And
I
then you're
think
getting blamed for it.
yeah, yeah. I think a lot of this as well is down to what stuff is easily available to people. You know, um, it's getting harder and harder, as an example, to download English songs.
Oh, right.
They're making a lot of these things, VIP and things like that now,
Yeah.
and so on. Um, like even something like, as an example, Peppa Pig. Let's
Yeah.
give that as an example. That used to be able to be completely streamable on something, say like ITE, like no problem.
Yeah.
Now, as far as I'm aware, you have to pay
Right.
to access more of it.
Mm.
So, I think that it feels to me sometimes they're like closing this accessibility.
Yeah, of English taught.
Yeah. Or they're just trying to make more money, you know, whichever way round, but the problem is, whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem to be a very good way.
Yeah, the
Um,
kids are actually suffering, aren't they, with their English?
yeah, I think at the same time, I think there's a lot of conflicting views here about why is English being used. I can understand those people saying, why do we have to learn English?
Okay.
Uh, because that's a bit like in our country, right? Why do I have to keep on learning French or keep on learning German
Yeah.
or Spanish? Okay,
Yeah.
but we still learn that until how old? 16, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We still learn that until we're 16 years old anyway. to have some basic other skill set. But it just seems as if the schools are, I don't know, schools are passing for the tests rather than actually being able to speak English.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And my son, as an example, he complains all the time about his normal. He goes to a normal school here.
What does
I
normal
didn't.
school mean? Chinese school.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um, so public school, right? Yeah, public school, and um, he complains about English a lot, and he complains about the pronunciation of his teacher.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, yeah,
Is his
yeah,
teacher Chinese?
yes, yeah.
How do you think people view foreign teachers? So, like, how do Chinese people view foreign teachers, and how do other foreigners view foreign teachers, in your opinion?
Okay, I would say that the majority of people think of a foreign teacher as a, a nanny.
Okay.
I think they view foreign teachers as a nanny just as to play with the kids.
Okay.
Um, and and I think this is a problem. Personally, I don't like that. I'm not a nanny. um,
Yeah.
uh, However, I can understand if the kids are very, very young. It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
But it seems as if, even when you get older kids, that's still what they think of you as. They don't really seem to care about the kid's behavior, what's really going on until it comes to test time. As soon as the test comes in and the kid's done badly, then suddenly everything's your fault. um, I don't think I think I would say about maybe half of the people respect foreign teachers, half don't.
Okay. Okay. How about other foreigners' view on foreign teachers?
Sorry, I'm back again.
How do other
Keeps on leaving me.
foreigners view foreign teachers?
I think actually the worst one is how foreigners view foreign teachers.
Okay.
I think most of them do not respect foreign teachers if they are not a teacher.
Right. And why do you
You
think
know,
that is?
because there's a lot of, how to say, there's a lot of very, very terrible teachers out there. The the mandate in China is just to have a degree, right?
Yeah.
And then you can be a teacher. However, teaching has got nothing whatsoever to do with a degree.
Yeah.
It's about you as a person rather than maybe what you know.
Yeah.
You're trying to teach morals, you're trying to teach values to these kids. It's not just teaching, say, a subject, to a very, very high end level. There's no one here who can understand, or there's not enough young kids, as an example, who can understand English that well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Actually, for me, foreigners who know teachers, there's very, very little respect for them. They're just, oh, what do you do? Just sing songs all day.
Yeah, dancing and singing.
Yeah, like I used to do that, you know, 2, 3 years ago. Oh no, sorry, not 2, 3 years, 8, 9 years ago. I used to do that,
Yeah.
but then I completely changed.
You changed your teaching style.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I am willing to do things like that sometimes, very, very occasionally, but it's more like if there's a show or something like that,
Yeah.
then we'll do something like that. Because I just think it's wasting class time.
Yes.
Um, a lot of these songs, a lot of these videos, they can find everything online. Actually, as a teacher, all you're doing is you're just watching the video yourself and then copying it
Yeah.
and then showing that to the kids. What's the point of that? They've got a TV at home. They can do that at home.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you said that
So,
a lot of teachers, the mandate is you just need a degree in like any subject, so it doesn't. actually relate into being a good teacher. So what do
Yeah.
you think does make a good teacher? Like if it's not down to a degree, what
Yeah.
is?
Well, I think it needs to be. Hello?
Yep, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Hi. I think it needs to be more on, the type of person you are, like assessing somebody. When you're going for like a teaching position in other countries, it's not just about learning the theory. Actually, the theory of teaching you get through doing TEFL or TESOL anyway.
Yeah,
You get that through doing that. you
yeah,
know Actually, the theory of teaching is not actually very complicated at all. But it's got to do with more about you know being observed in the class. Do you know how to deal with a
yeah,
naughty child? Do you know how to deal with a shy child?
yeah.
Are you engaging? Are you using the right language, the right speed to talk to the children? It's like I remember when I was at school, we would get a lot of trainee teacher into my school when I was younger, and
Okay. Is this
they
Chinese
would.
or foreign?
Oh no, this was in the UK. This was
Oh,
back in the UK.
right.
And once they're up to like a certain part in their theory, they push that theory into the classroom.
Yeah.
And when they came in, there would be like two or three other people observing them as well.
Okay.
And they would be at the school for maybe a month or something like that, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way. I know plenty of teacher in the UK who do not have a degree,
Right.
but they have teaching certificate.
Right.
It's not the same thing as having a degree.
So would you say there's not enough proper teacher training here in China for foreigners? Like the
Well, yeah, I think the problem is because of the way they are doing the classification, it means that you can get pretty much anyone into your school.
yeah,
It could be it doesn't even matter what the degree is. Oh well, great, congratulations, you can be a teacher.
yeah.
It.
I think I might have lost you again. Hello? Oh yeah, you're
Hello.
back. Hi.
Yeah. So it doesn't even matter what it is, what their degree is. Okay, you can be a teacher, and then it's sort of left to them. Well, this doesn't make any sense to me. You
Right.
know, it doesn't make any sense because teaching has got nothing to do with that.
No.
Um, it has to do with your experience. A person who's got, as an example, a person who's got 10 years experience as a teacher is much, much better, as an example, than someone who's just come over to China to teach at the age of 22 years old.
Yeah, someone who's just graduated in maths, say, come over. They have no experience. They don't actually know what to do.
Yeah, and of course, there has to be training and things like that. But, this has to be done something through, say, the country or the area rather than just through an institution.
So do you think this should be something that's implemented into the policy rather than saying you need a degree in any subject and a TEFL? You should be having a degree, a TEFL, and having some certain amount of time training as a teacher.
Yeah, to be honest, perfectly honest, I think they could even scrap the whole degree.
Yeah,
Uh, Personally,
I
I
agree. Yeah,
I don't see how a degree makes any difference whatsoever for a teacher.
no,
I
it's a piece of paper. It means nothing.
Yeah, it means absolutely nothing. All it basically means is that You went somewhere and you partied for 4 years of your life. You went to a whole bunch of lectures completely, completely wasted out of your head, and you just sat there and fell asleep. You know, what else does it really mean? It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, I think the basic things that there needs to have is something like a TEFL or TESOL certificate, say 120 hours, possibly even a whole year, like in base center training for something like that.
Yeah.
A whole year, but it has to be regulated properly.
Yeah, because
Uh,
it's hard, isn't it? Because obviously some teachers are quite expensive to hire. So when you hire one, you want them to do the class rather than like observe classes or
well, this is why I don't think it should be through the center. I think it should be done through the government. So
um,
treat the foreigner the same way that you treat, Chinese people, in a sense of how they can get their teaching credentials. So for Chinese people, they only need to do something like a degree for 1 year, and then they've got something.
oh right, okay. So do you mean that the Chinese government should implement this so you come to China, learn how to be a teacher for a year, get the certificate, and then go to teach?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a good idea.
You
But
know
and
what I,
then how would
why, why do they have to do it differently for a foreigner coming in to the way they do for a Chinese person to come in?
mm,
To do exactly the same job in a sense.
yeah.
You you know, I just think that there needs to be some sort of balance in there. You know, the prerequisites of having a degree, they don't. It doesn't make sense for teaching.
No.
A teaching certificate is not, and I don't think this needs to be done for the institutions. I don't even think the institutions need to do it. I just think the government can do it.
Yeah. They could just
You
add
know?
this prerequisite, couldn't they?
Yeah, and then anyone who goes into any place like this, they have to have this certificate.
Yeah, and do you think that if this was implemented and someone's come and like done a year training, got the certificate, then they'll actually want to stay in China for longer because they've worked so hard to get the certificate, so they want to not just come to China and leave after 1 year, for
Well,
example.
I think what it will mean will be that they would feel safer living here
Mm.
in the terms of what they can do, in the terms of the law, in the terms of anything else. Because, you know, if you're in a job at the moment here, and they try and do something with you, against you, take away money, blah blah blah.
Mm.
You have to do all this, you know, uh, you know, you have to complain a lot. You need to
Yeah,
know your rules.
yeah. Lost you again.
Hey, sorry. You need to know your rules. You need to know everything else like that. You need to know what you're entitled to and everything, which automatically puts the foreigner on the back foot because maybe you don't want to have to always do this confrontational attitude with somebody.
Yeah, of course.
But if you've got a certificate which is like completely recognized throughout the whole of China, and then
Mm.
boom, you're fine. You know, it
Mm.
should be no problem at all.
How do you feel about the working visa at the moment? I mean, like, the aspect of where you have a working visa attached to your company. Like you said, if like you was underpaid, you have to complain a lot, but you feel stuck and tied to that company.
Um, I don't think it's I can understand why they've done it.
Yeah.
Um, I can understand why it's been done, but I think there just needs to be a little bit more leeway.
Yeah.
It seems as if everything is very, very much open up to interpretation.
Mm.
I did get into trouble one time here, but that was nothing to do with my work. It was because I didn't have my passport on me.
Oh, right. I mean, you
So
carry a passport around with them. We don't want to lose it, do you? It's so important.
exactly, I didn't have my passport on me because it was at home. That day it had been raining in the morning, and a guy came. Actually, everything is completely fine. And basically, because I said I don't have my passport, he thought it meant that
You're hiding
I'm
something.
I shouldn't be working there. Even though I tried to show him pictures on my phone,
Yeah.
I had pictures on my phone of my passport and everything like that. And he just said, no passport, you're in trouble.
Goodness.
I'm sorry, but how many, if you ask Chinese people that way, okay, show me your Chinese ID now,
Hmm.
just on in a random place that's not like a very busy place or something like that, how many of them are just going to suddenly be able to pull out their ID on them?
Yeah, no. I know it's law, but it's just not. Like, nobody carries a passport around with them all the time. No, it's not possible.
It's just a pain, just a pain,
Yeah.
and the whole time you're just worrying, oh my God, where's my passport?
Yeah, exactly.
you know it's like it just doesn't it just doesn't work. And like with everything now on the phone and everything like that,
Yeah.
no one needs a wallet anymore.
Yeah.
you know no one needs a wallet for all these cards and things like that. you know it's just, yeah. So
So do you think that you get a fair salary?
uh from what I'm on at the moment, no, I don't think so.
You
uh
think you're being underpaid?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what are the main benefits for you for working and living in China?
um I guess um the salary is about the same as it would be in the UK.
Okay.
Um, benefits mainly it's to do with family and things like that.
Okay. Is that because
So
you mentioned you had a Chinese wife and children?
yeah, I think so. It's very very hard to like go somewhere else, um, like to suddenly move somewhere, and trying to change, say, you know where three other people are going to live.
Mm,
you know
yeah.
you know at this age is a very very difficult thing for them to accept.
Yeah, of course.
um, Also, in terms of things, I think in some aspects, you know China is safer
Mm, yeah.
for for you know as an example, recreational drug use. you know
Yeah, there's
it's
not much of that going on, is there?
well, there's there's none. you know
Yeah. Yeah.
you know there's none unless you go into a really really bad shady area.
Yeah.
So I think, for that aspect, yeah, I think here is it's safer um for the kids. uh Also tends to be in like a community. Once you buy a house here
Mm.
and you live in a community, actually the community. Sorry, I'm back again. So like the community actually protects each other.
Okay, so there's a good community spirit.
Yeah, in sometimes. Pre-COVID and after COVID. It's like I see it all the time in my group's WeChat. There's a child by themselves shouting "Mummy, Daddy" or something like that,
Yeah.
and then someone takes a video of this child and sends it to the group chat saying, "Whose child is this?"
Okay, that's good.
You know, um, in this term, in this aspect, I think it's quite safe for children. So,
And
but I do have another suggestion as well. I think once someone is married in China,
yeah.
I think like this whole this whole, oh, you cannot be here visiting a family visiting a family and not being able to work visa, is absolutely crazy.
Is this a marriage visa?
Yeah, it is completely crazy.
Yeah.
It's visiting, I think it's called visiting family visa,
Okay.
but, it lasts for up to a year. And I know you can get it up to 2 years actually. But who's going to come over here for 2 years and not work if they've got family here?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, does it?
It doesn't make any sense. I can understand why they think, oh, people might just get married to have a green card. I get that. I understand that.
Okay.
But there has to be, once a once a family's got children and things like that. Come on,
Yeah.
it's a little bit. We've gone a little bit past. Okay, I'm just marrying so I can live here
Yeah,
freely.
you've got a family or a house, settled down.
Yeah.
So,
Like personally for me, one reason I haven't gone for the Chinese ID is because in China, Chinese people will never see me as being Chinese.
so you can never fully integrate.
Yeah, there's no way you can't become Chinese in here, in the way the society is here. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you've got a card saying, "Oh, I'm a Chinese citizen." It doesn't matter. you know if you walk into that line by saying, okay, I'm Chinese, and you look foreigner, the person is always going to come over to you
Yeah,
and
definitely.
say, oh, you can't be here, you need to be over there. I don't see the purpose of that at all. Plus, being able to go home as well. You got family elsewhere.
Yeah,
If you're suddenly having to go and get a visa every time you want to go back home.
yeah, because you're not allowed to have dual citizenship, are you? Well,
No,
China.
so well, probably that some of these people probably do have dual citizenship, but you know, it doesn't make it, it doesn't make any sense. If I did want to go back to see my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brother, I would make it harder on myself to go back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Um, what are the benefits? Disadvantages here, I guess, would
Yeah.
be um social circle.
Okay.
The social circle, you know, you don't really keep friends for a long time,
Why is that?
because everyone leaves.
And why do you think that people leave?
Because people have come for an experience here,
Mm, yeah.
and once that experience and once the joy has gone, then they want to go away again.
Yeah.
You know, there have been plenty of times when I've considered to myself, do I still want to be here?
Mm,
It's one of those, can you know can, there's such a huge cultural difference, and it doesn't matter about actually how much of the culture you can understand. You
mm,
might not always be able to agree with it,
yeah, that's
or
true.
especially when it's being used as an excuse. Right? Come on, we've all come across that. Oh, it's Chinese culture, blah blah blah,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
the next moment they're not doing that, right?
yeah,
you know you know Even something simple as please and thank you, right?
yeah.
Oh my God, I'm back again. Yeah, even say something just says please and thank you. They say, oh, in our when you're in family, no one says please and thank you.
Yeah.
And then, you open the door for somebody and they don't even look at you. They don't even acknowledge you've done it. There's
Mm.
no way that they're your family. Yeah, and they don't even say please or thank you. They don't even say thank you. It's like, what? You
Yeah.
know, it's just, you know, these things, even these tiny little things, they can change your perception of if you want to stay somewhere or not.
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes it is the small things that really build up and build up to make you think, right, that's enough. It's too different.
Yeah,
I need to go back to my own country.
yeah.
So do you see a future in Shenzhen?
I've already got a future here. You know,
Yeah, because you're married and you've got kids. So, do you have the opportunity to grow in your company up the organizational ladder?
um, well, we're very, very small.
Okay.
Well, very, very small. Th- th- there is the opportunity. It's just very, very tough to get it
Okay.
to
Okay.
there. You know, I know if I go inside a big company, then yes, definitely there are more opportunities to grow and so on.
Yeah.
However, then I'm subject to, you know, only going through what they want me to do all the time,
Hmm.
rather than having, you know, being able to make a difference in the way that I see is best to be able to make a difference.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think a lot of the big companies is you don't have a say on the material that you're teaching, you can't really complain about a problem, you just do what you're told to do kind of thing?
Well, that's the reason why I left some big companies.
Right.
It's the reason why I left because you have to just follow a book,
Yeah.
and you're it's the kids graduate, they go up to the next level. The material is exactly the same,
Right. So
and
it's a bit boring.
it is really, really boring. There's no, you know, people think, oh, okay, you go to a training center, oh, they have this classes, and then that's all they need to do. Actually, it's not. There needs to be some practice at home.
Yeah, of course.
There needs to be some practice at home, and that comes down to the family, nothing to do with the teacher. Teacher can only do so much.
Yeah.
So if it's not implemented at home, of course, there's never going to be anywhere. But once you're in a company, they sort of blame you for everything. If a parent complains, then you're blamed.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
feel like
definitely.
where I am right now, I do have support on this aspect.
That's good.
So, like as an example, a parent does complain, and then maybe my boss will talk to them and say, he's told me many, many times about this situation. He's messaged you many times too. He says you have to practice at home. Yeah, because there's nothing else I can do. You can't miraculously get people to be able to speak a language.
Well, that's it. You only spend a certain amount of time with them every week. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you often feel burnout at work?
Uh, I don't think it's work that burns me out.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
it's life.
Okay.
So yeah,
So going to work for you is a bit of a break.
sometimes. Yeah. You're you know once you've got a family here and things like that,
Yeah.
it's everything is much, much harder. You buy a house, you've got mortgage, you've got exactly the same everything that you've got from from your own country.
Yeah.
You're now doing it in a brand new country,
Yeah.
and nothing is in your language.
Mhm.
And you're trying to think of how you can get better, how you can do this, how you can do that. So
Yeah, it's making it more difficult.
yeah.
So do you think teaching is a stable or a lifelong job?
uh I think it is a stable lifelong job. However, it all depends on what happens here.
On the laws and the policies, etc.
Yeah. I do feel as if they're trying to shut it out. I
Right.
do feeling, just the kids staying at school for an extra hour now or an extra 2 hours.
Mm. Yeah, so that's putting out the same sense of time. Are you back?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
back. Yeah, I do feel, this whole, I can understand, they're saying that kids at school stay at school longer. I can get that, like an after school club type of thing.
Yeah.
But, they're saying, oh, they're doing homework. I don't see that. I see that a teacher wants their kids to do another class, so they do another class with the students. It seems as if there's a lot of rules being broken by the schools.
Right, so you
And
mean at the school they're supposed to be doing homework, but they're actually doing another class.
yeah,
Right.
or they're doing, or is the problem is the different schools have interpreted the rules differently.
Yeah.
And once you're, if you're in a training center, and there's work time, and then suddenly the kids can't come in until X time
Mm.
because they have to stay at school.
Yeah.
It's really like, challenging the business.
Yeah, definitely.
you know um I don't, I think the problem is, I get it, there are these big companies that pay are charging a lot of money,
Yeah.
and maybe they're not paying their taxes properly or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's this is also other people's livelihood as well.
Yeah,
you
that
know
makes sense.
it's other people's livelihood. There are plenty of kids who do benefit from these things, and I think, for me, it just feels as if they're trying to take out this option from people. Oh, you don't need this to do well. But actually, if you look at the economy, they do need it to do well.
Yeah, and I think the parents know because obviously the parents have took the children to a training centre off their own back and pay a lot of money for the kids to learn English because they know the competition in China is extreme. You need to know English to be able to go abroad, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. But it's not even just to go abroad, it's even to have maybe, a sales job here, or, you know, a any job like that. There are foreigners here. you know Learning English does seriously help.
Yeah,
um, but it's not the problem is, I just think that they're looking at this in the wrong way, because all of the if we look at Guangdong and we look at the export in Guangdong,
yeah,
70% of all export goes abroad, goes to other countries, and all of that is done in what language?
yeah. The main business language is English.
Right? So, if a place is making this from, making a lot of its money from that, then
You need a
you
lot of
need,
people to speak fluent English.
yeah. Like, one thing that has personally helped me is being able to speak some Chinese.
Okay,
It definitely has helped me, because now it means that kids cannot use the excuse 我听不懂.
right.
They can't use that excuse to their parents anymore. And it also means that I'm able to communicate a little bit better, to some of these, to some of the parents too.
Yeah. And how
Yeah.
did you learn Chinese? Did your school implement free Chinese classes or did you learn by yourself?
I learned by going into shops and trying to buy things.
Okay.
I I managed 1 week of Chinese classes, and that was about it.
Wow.
And I hated my teacher, so
Oh gosh.
so did it. Just the way of what we wanted to do was completely different. So I wanted to learn spoken Chinese, and she wanted me to learn how to write. So
Yeah, that's completely offset.
yeah.
So if you had a friend who was planning on moving to China to teach, what advice would you give them so they could maintain a good work-life balance?
Okay, number one would be, make sure that your um Oh my God, I can't remember these things, the names of these things anymore. Make sure that everything translate properly between Chinese and English. So your
Mm.
contract.
All right, okay.
Sorry, I'm back again.
Welcome back.
So make sure that the contract is proper in both English and in Chinese. So it
So
says
make sure
exactly,
you understand exactly what your contract is.
yeah. But also at the same time, make sure that you understand what the laws in China are,
Okay.
because a contract should not be any different to the laws that are there in China.
Okay.
So, as an example, holidays. So, making sure that the holidays are still in place. Obviously, if you work in a training center, they want you to work during the holidays.
Yeah.
But what is the training center going to give you instead of that?
The holiday. Hmm.
Yeah, you know, make sure that all of these things are, down. However, if someone is just coming over here for an experience, I would just say, come over, keep an open mind.
Yeah.
Um, keep an open mind. Things are different. And this is what earlier on I mentioned, foreigners think they should be treated differently in China
Yeah.
to Chinese people. I don't think so. Actually, these problems are problems that Chinese people face all the time. And, we do need to understand this. It's not necessarily our problem, but, these are things that they do face every day as well.
Yeah.
So, keep an open mind, just actually having to work on these holidays, maybe it's a better thing than being able to go out on these holidays.
Yeah, because it's so busy.
Exactly. It's
Uh,
not fun. You're trying to. I remember a time I came from Damesha. I
mm,
was coming back from Damesha,
10 hours.
and well, it should be about a 40-minute drive from where I
Right.
live.
Oh, right, yeah.
It took us 4 hours to go
Wow.
5 minutes walking in the car.
Wow. Yeah, I've had this experience as well.
It's just completely insane. It's just completely crazy. Why waste a day off on that? you know?
Yeah. So it might actually be better to work on the holidays if you're getting paid extra because you're working on a holiday.
Well, not even if you're getting paid extra, even if you get that holiday some other time.
Oh, right. Okay. So flexibility.
Yeah, as an example, you want, say, Golden Week, as an example.
Yeah.
Uh, from the 1st of October to the 7th of October, right?
Yeah.
you know, say like you worked those days. Well, then if your company gave them those days off at another time,
Yeah.
say
The week
same
later.
around, same as say as an example around Christmas.
Right. Yeah. Because you're a foreigner, you celebrate Christmas. Yeah.
Exactly, and instead of having to work around this time, then the company goes, hey, you can get this week off here if you work these 7 days here.
Yeah. That'd be great.
It's it, but a lot of the time it's just done what they want, for them to meet their own criteria from what their boss has given them.
Because it's like not the standard working time or the standard holidays, etc.
Yeah,
So in some countries, they've implemented 4-day work week, like in France.
yeah.
Do you think this could be duplicated in China for teaching specifically?
No, because the kids have to be at school 5 days a week.
True. How
you
about
know
for a training centre?
uh the I also don't think so, no, because it's all about making money,
Yeah.
right? So if they're reduced down to only, less teachers because they only can work 4 days a week,
Yeah.
I don't think these things, I don't think it would work.
But do you think it could work in a sense where you'd be open every day or 5 days a week for your training centre, 6 days, sorry. But the
Yeah,
teachers have only work 4 days. It could be like some people work, Monday to Saturday, other people's work Tuesday to Sunday, like this. So the teachers actually only work 4 days.
Well, it could work, but then, the school, the company has to pay more money to be able to have more teachers.
Okay.
Therefore, they're losing money on this.
But what would the difference be if you were just to reduce the office hours? Because a lot of the time it's office hours in the training centre, isn't it? So
Mm,
if you don't have to come in for your office hours, you just come in for your classes and like a few office hours per week,
mm.
would that be a better solution?
Um, again, again, uh, Again, I don't think so. I think this is I think this is making foreigners feel as if they are different to Chinese people.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think the working hours should be roughly the same.
How,
You know,
how about if you implemented mm, like the centre as a whole, so including Chinese teachers?
well, if you did everyone, then yeah, I think you could have everything. But I think this is one reason why people look at foreign teachers differently
Right.
because they're treated differently.
Yeah.
You know, I, being putting money aside, you know, as an example, you've got a big training center. They bring in the Chinese teachers from 1 o'clock every day and they finish at 9 o'clock every day. But then they bring in the foreign teachers at 3 o'clock every day and they finish at 9 every day.
Yeah.
Why is there a difference in the timing? In our own country, when we have a full-time job, you have to work from X to X time,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
you know you have to work that. You can't go, oh, I don't really want to be here today, oh, I'm just going to go away now, I've got nothing to do.
Yeah.
You're never going to get any career development in there. You're never going to get anywhere.
No, but I think studies have shown where they have implemented a shorter work week that actually it has been shown to be more productive because a lot of the time when you're in your office hours, you might not be like preparing classes, like you're on Facebook or whatever. So a lot of
uh,
the time it's been shown that you're more productive because when you're at work, you're working
uh,
rather than being at
I,
work because you've been told you need to work from X till X.
that's like Finland, isn't it? Finland or Sweden or something, right?
Yes, Sweden, France, the UK's also started. It's becoming quite a big new phenomenon.
Okay. In all honesty, I can't see that. I like the idea.
Yeah,
I love the idea.
yeah.
But in an Asian country, I can't see how that would take off.
Yeah, because do you think in the Asian culture, especially China, that they really value hard working, overtime, 996, blah blah blah?
Yeah. I think it's one of those ones where, you know, again, I agree. I don't think people come to work and they work the whole time,
Yeah,
even when they work even when they work, what is it, 966, right?
996.
Oh, 996, that's the one. you know, even when they work this, I don't think they're working the whole time.
Right.
You know, I definitely don't. I know for a fact they don't. Looking at their WeChat moments and stuff like that. That's not work. you know, but they do value this. They do value this. Well, your boss says this, and then you do that.
Yeah,
They do value this. If you're trying to implement a completely different way of doing something, it completely changes what would happen.
yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely.
for me, yeah, it sounds fantastic. For me personally, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But
Do you think it's way too radical for China at the moment?
yeah,
Yeah, I actually think even in the West, I'm really surprised that someone's thought about this and it's been implemented. I'm really happy, but I'm surprised and shocked that companies are doing this because they're still paying the people the same salary as if they was working 5 days a week.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, I think it's going to come to a point where everyone's going to love it, but then everyone's just going to become lazier and lazier again.
Maybe, yeah, could be.
I'm sorry, but British people are not exactly renowned for being very hardworking. I shouldn't say that, should I?
Wait a minute, yeah, because you're saying British people there and you're Scottish, are you?
Yeah, I know. We just drink Buckfast every day, you know?
Okay, so finally, if you had your own school or training centre and you was hiring foreign teachers, what would you do to retain these teachers? You know, so they don't just come for a year and go to another company or go back to the UK or their own country. How would you keep them?
Um, Same way as I would do things in, you know, as many companies here already do anyway. You give extra perk.
Okay,
Um, as an example, maybe a salary uh, rise.
each year.
Um, yep. It can be different things. I remember when my dad was at work, the
Yeah.
company he worked for said, "Do you want to have more money every month,
Uh-huh.
or do you want to have more days off?"
Brilliant.
So my dad opted for the more days off.
That's really good.
So it was something like, the salary increase wasn't much,
No.
and it only came up to like a total of say 5 days work,
Right.
in over a whole year.
Oh,
But
wow.
but it did mean that my dad was getting, like, instead of saying the standard 14 days off a year,
Mm,
my dad was now getting 19 days off a year,
yes.
which he can take for personal leave.
And this
And
kind
he's
of
not
question, more days off or more money, is great because it's down to the individual level, what you value, money or time.
exactly. I think, these things in there are essential to keep people to stay, to stay where they are,
Yeah.
you know, and also, also as a in a training center, we already know, being able to get your days off is very, very difficult.
What do you mean? Oh, right,
Um,
you mean extra days off.
yeah.
Right, got ya.
Even sometimes even getting your own days off is difficult because if other people called in sick, etc.
Okay, so does that happen quite frequently for you that
It used to. Where in my
okay,
previous company, it happened a lot, which is one reason why I left there, actually, because I was actually a manager there, and I was a manager of all the foreign teachers. And a reason why I left was because they kept on wanting to push me back into teaching
teaching?
to cover for other people. Yeah.
When you're a manager, what does that entail? That you don't teach as many classes?
Yeah, basically, it was observing classes more, giving feedback to teachers how they can improve
Right.
the teaching, how,
Yeah.
going over any problems. So,
Mm,
problems with inside the centers and stuff
mm,
like that. But it ended up, I would say, the first 1 year was fantastic of doing that. I really thought I was making a difference. However, year two and year three of doing that job, it was just training centers complain all the time. You know, their their staff weren't doing exactly what they were wanting them to do. Um,
mm.
as an example, it was their day off, and then the center was asking them to cover for a teacher who was sick, and
Yeah, it's not really fair, is it? You need to have
and
time
they
off.
was and they were saying no, and it's like, I would go in and just like, yeah, good, yeah, they said no, and you know, yeah, what can I do? you know.
Yeah, and did they expect because you were the manager that if that teacher wouldn't come in that you'd have to actually go and do the job?
Well, they at the beginning they wanted me to be the one who talked to the teacher to say
Mm,
what they're doing was not good.
mm,
However, I didn't see what they were doing was wrong.
okay.
You know, it's their day off. So
Yeah, it's
therefore,
completely, it's a good thing that they shouldn't come in like they've got a life.
yeah, it's like going, well, it's their day off. You're asking them to cover for someone else. They're saying no.
Yeah, that's the end of
Okay.
the story.
Yeah, exactly. As far as I was concerned, there's nothing, there's no problem. I respect them. I'd say to them, you might be able to do this and, get a favor when you want it at some other time. You know, you know, these were the words I would use, but there was nothing I could really do. I couldn't punish them. Oh, you're doing the bad thing. That's terrible. Blah blah blah. Why?
Yeah,
They're already doing their job.
yeah. And could you also not offer them any flexibility? Say, if you cover today, you can take next week 3 days off instead of 2 days off.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Um, as a manager, did you have any flexibility? For example, if you wanted someone to cover, you could say to them, if you do today, next week you can get 3 days off.
No, no, because the center couldn't do that because
Yeah, then you'd
the
need
teacher had
someone
to,
to cover him.
exactly. This was, for these type of jobs, this is where the problems always lie,
Okay,
uh, in this because they don't hire enough
enough
staff.
teachers. How
Yeah.
about could you say, if you cover this class, we're going to actually pay you a time and a half, so it's actually worth your day off.
Well, this is the thing. This is what, this is something I did implement.
Okay.
But again, people prefer to have their day off.
Yeah, I think foreigners
Yeah.
really do value their time, whereas Chinese people, I'm not saying as a whole, but I mean, from my experience, they prefer to do something for the face, like, oh, the boss has got something to do, I should do it. And I prefer to have the extra money than the time
Yeah.
it's part of the future.
Yeah, definitely. So like in this last one, if I were to uh if I was employing foreign teachers,
Yeah.
I would definitely try and give them extra every year, something extra, you
Whether
know.
that's money, days off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think coming down to it, like giving them the choice is the important thing.
I think you're completely right. This is what I'm writing about, the motivation, and it's on the individual needs from Maslow's theory. So yeah, what you're saying is perfect for me.
Yeah. Like for me, a balance between them, like a balance. Obviously, I would like to have more money,
Yeah,
but at the same time, I'd also like to have some days off.
yeah,
So, but then, it comes out to,
personal preference.
exactly, what is more suitable for you at that time.
Exactly. Like if you've got a family, you might want more money, or you might want more time off, or yeah.
You know, obviously more money probably because, I am married to Chinese, so money is more important. But, yeah, this choice in there, also, we're talking about, covering for other teachers and things like that.
Yeah.
Y- If you're not going to make it worthwhile, which in theory, most of these training centers do not,
No, no, they just give
or,
you the normal rate.
they might just give you an only for the class, or,
Yeah, what a
you know,
waste of time. Wasting your
and
day
then
in the middle of the day.
exactly, or when you say, okay, I would like to have this day off then, and they say, no, you can't, no one's able to cover you.
Yeah.
This is a big problem, I think, because a lot of the time, you know, actually, foreigners can be very selfish as well.
Yeah, of course.
They always ask other people to cover off for them.
But they
but
would
then when,
never do the favor back.
yeah, they would never do it back to someone else.
Mm,
And I think, this is one of those ones where, when I was a manager of all the centers in Shenzhen in
yeah.
this company, it was one of the hardest ones. I just could never understand.
Do you think that that's something you'd be able to implement? So you could say, if you need some time off and someone's covered your class, you have to cover one of their classes if they want you to, because they might not, they might want to do their own class, but if they do you want a day off, or you would have to reciprocate and cover one of their classes.
Well, yeah, definitely this is something which is in there, but the problem is, again, there's still that trust. Would that person even come to work on that day?
Right.
you know like you've got that, you've got someone, you cover for someone, and then you
Yeah.
ask someone to cover for you. It
Yeah.
has to be like a written down agreement, and then if something doesn't happen, then both of you get told off from the
Mm,
company. But actually, it's not the first person's problem, it's the second person. you
yeah.
know and then, what happens from this, uh I look at, reviews, and it's what, glass ceiling, right?
Yeah.
That review, yeah, glass ceiling. And actually, some of the people on there, I know who they are, who have written things on there. And it's very, very funny because I know actually what happened. But the review they've written on there is something completely different to actually what happened.
Wow.
It's completely different. Like, there's an example in there, as one of them.
You're back.
Yeah. So there was an example. One of them, she just, without telling anyone, she bought tickets to go back home.
Okay.
And on the review, she said, "Oh, I have been asking for about 6 months so I could go back home because it was my daughter's birthday, and they refused to let me go back."
Okay.
Actually, what actually happened was, she just bought the tickets and she didn't tell anyone. And it was like, "Oh, tomorrow I'm going back."
Oh my gosh.
And then, you know there was, warning letters and everything like that given out.
Mm,
But, it's like, they've just basically taken matters into their own hands, and then they've gone onto, a forum and bad mouth something which actually was them.
yep.
It wasn't
Mm,
someone else's fault, it was actually what they did.
gosh.
Things like that, means that people don't really trust. you know I cover your class, okay, you cover mine.
Yeah, and that's quite bad for someone who doesn't know China or the way things work and they're thinking about coming to China. And if they read something like this, it
Yeah.
would be terrible.
Yes, exactly. But, it happens.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's about it. Is there anything that you'd like to add or you think that we've missed?
uh no, I think that's pretty much everything. I think like, I like the idea of this, a good work-life balance type of thing. um but again, I think, sometimes we have to think about the culture and the city.
Yes.
Like a big city such as Shenzhen, Beijing, Shanghai,
Mm.
then they're not really, how to say, uh work-life balance city.
No, it's a work city.
you know People do come here to make money, which
Yeah.
means that all the companies are here to make money.
Yeah, that's true.
And I do think that is something that, I think, you know possibly yourself could also think about,
Yeah, that's a very good point.
because these are those places which are to make money.
Mm.
And, people do not, come here to live a relaxing life.
Yeah, they don't come here and do yoga every day and relax.
Yeah, there are some, but those are the people who, have had their land knocked down and made an absolute fortune, because, because a multiplex, is being built where they used to live. But you know, I think this is another thing. You know, I think this is one of those other things which another thing that could be implemented instead. You know, well, you work really hard for this amount of time, and then during a very quiet period, you can have a much longer time off. You know,
Yes, so
these are
people
other
like come here when they're quite young, work very hard, and then they hopefully can retire a bit earlier or something like that.
yeah, or even though even for the schools, even for what the schools do, you know, everyone knows, you know, after Chinese New Year and after the term start,
Yeah,
that these are the very, very busy times. Well, then you do get quiet time, which is say the summer holiday
yeah.
and the winter holiday. Now,
Mm,
actually, these are really good times to allow people to have longer time off,
mm,
you know, because there are less people to come in
mm.
for to do these things.
Yeah, that's actually a good point as well. So when you're working, you're busy. When you've got time off, you've got quite a lot of time off, so you can balance it if you work very hard for some time of the year and you have quite a good leisure time for another part of the year.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Because I do know, you know, when I go back home, when I do
Mm,
go back, well, I know it's been a long, long time, but
yeah,
when I do go back home, I do normally go back, you know, the Chinese New Year time.
okay.
I do normally go back then because one, the flights are cheaper to fly back home
Yep.
because most Chinese people will not be flying to the UK.
Right.
And the other time is like towards the end of the summer holiday
Yeah.
because again, people are not going out of the country. You know, they're coming back into the country.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you know, you know, again, but again, this is all about flexibility because I used to do, you know, when I did cover someone else's class or something, I
Mm.
used to ask for the days off. So when I did take a holiday, like go back home,
Yeah, you're not
I
losing
would,
money.
yeah, exactly. I would, sorry, I would use all those holidays, all those extra days at the same time.
Yeah.
So basically, I go back home and I get paid for going back home.
Yeah, that's very good.
You know, and you know, for your, you know, for your, you've used like the word spirit, right? It feels great. You know, you're not losing any money because
Yeah.
these are, you know, your holiday per year anyway. But at the same time, you know, you've got the extra days, you're still going to get paid for it.
Yeah,
Everything's
feels
the
great.
same. Yeah, you know, I do think some things need to change in some aspects. I don't think you've covered it. Is like sick leave.
Okay.
Like sick leave here is a very, I'm going to say, horrible area to try and cover.
Okay.
Because, you know, I think most companies use sick leave as you need to have a doctor's note
Yeah, that's true. You need to
and you
prove.
need, and, and you need to show them in advance.
No.
Excuse me, what? Okay, yeah, next week I'm coming down with a fever. Here's my note from the doctor. You know, it just
That's
doesn't make sense, right?
hilarious.
Or okay, you've got a stomach bug. Okay, let's use a very, very common
Yeah,
sickness.
yeah, you're being like sick, diarrhea.
Exactly, like especially diarrhea, right?
Yeah,
Okay, you've got diarrhea, you can't go to work
right.
because that can easily pass on to somebody else, right?
Yeah,
You know, it shouldn't be able to, but it can, right?
yeah.
Now, do you need to go to the hospital for that?
No.
No, you can just take some stuff at home, but it does take about 1 day, 2 days to clear up
Yeah,
for yourself to feel better again because you lost a lot of body fluid. But
right.
then being told, okay, you need to have a hospital note for that.
Yeah, it's just a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just too much, you know, it's just
And it feels as though they don't trust that you're sick.
yes. You know, and on the opposite side of that, you know, I'm sorry I'm going to use the female monthly situation
Okay.
here, right? But as an example, girls use that one, the company won't care.
Yeah, they're not like, well, let me see your tampon.
Exactly. There's no, where, so
Where's the
I understand.
line? Yeah.
Yeah. I understand, okay, you're sick, blah, blah, blah. But again, they shouldn't be taking off money from you because you're sick. You know, Obviously, I understand there are plenty of people out there who lie. I get that.
Mm.
But, there needs to be some sort of balance in here. Most company, as far as I'm aware,
Mm.
they do not allow for any sick days.
Right, I wasn't aware of that. I thought that there
Like,
was some kind of leeway where you could have like a few sick days per year. And then if you go over, of course, you don't get paid for the days that you're not in.
well, I think they do. I think you are right, but they require a notice.
Right. So that's where your problem is because it's not necessary to go to the hospital if you've got diarrhea.
Or even if you've got a stomach ache, you've got a really bad headache,
Yeah.
something
You
like,
really run down.
yeah, you're burnt out, you
Yeah.
know, you just, or
You,
your whole world's just suddenly coming crashing down around you
yeah.
and you have nowhere to go. You just need to have a day just to get it off, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone gets like that. You just have a down day and you just need to have the day
Mhm.
off.
Yeah. So, there are clauses in there in contracts which I do know of, but
Mm.
they're very, how to say, okay, I've broken my arm, I've broken my leg, you know,
Right. It's very
my arms,
extreme.
my arms, my head's nearly chopped off. I'll take a photo for you,
Yeah.
right? Like, I do remember one occasion I did have diarrhea, and my company said, you need to go to the hospital. And I said, I don't go to the hospital over these things.
Right. And you sat on the toilet all day.
Right. And then it's just like, they're like, well, how do we know? It's like, well, do you want me to take a photo of it for you? you know, do you want photo proof? Like, seriously, come on. It's a little bit far fetched,
Yeah.
right?
And I think, like, usually you can tell by the person. For example, if you're the kind of person who doesn't take days off and then it's out of the blue, you're ringing, I'm really sorry, I've got diarrhea. They should take that with a pinch of salt and just trust
Back
you.
again. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you were saying about, if a person who always takes time off, then obviously,
Yeah, you can say you want
can they
proof.
trust you?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But if
But if it's like,
someone, if someone never takes days off and all of a sudden they've said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I've got diarrhea," then you should just trust them and be like, "Yeah, get better, well, get better soon.
yeah.
See you
Well, again,
tomorrow."
again, part of this also comes down to cultural difference as well. So in China, people get, as an example, people here get sick, they get a cold. Where do they go?
Hospital,
Exactly. For us, where do we go?
nowhere.
We just
Doctors,
do it.
yeah, just go
Well,
to the chemist.
or not even that. Oh my God, I got a cold. Okay,
Yeah,
go
you
to
just stay
work.
at home and. Oh,
Or
right,
or
right,
or
right.
or or if it's really bad, yeah, you stay at home. If you feel really terrible, then you do stay at home. You caught the man flu, you stay at home for a week.
Yeah,
So, it's like, the these these areas here, I think also it's important for companies to understand that there's a big difference.
yeah, definitely.
For me, okay, someone comes in, okay, look, I got a doctor's note. I wasn't here yesterday. I had a cold. And I'm going, why do you need a doctor's note for a cold? You
Yeah,
know,
it's ridiculous. I'm
what?
surprised they even give you a doctor's note for something so minor.
Well, because they have to go in. Well, they have to go in and they have to fill out that form. You
Yeah,
know, so when they get the receipt and everything like that, it's easy for them to show they've been to the doctor.
yeah. It just seems ridiculous. Like, because actually, this time you actually should be home recovering, not out and about, spreading the cold, tiring yourself out. You should be home resting and just trying to get better.
Yeah, but yeah, I do think I think this is an area on here sick days.
Mm,
Um, these things have to be a little bit more. Uh, what to say?
flexible,
Yeah, and not so not so
serious and
frigid.
strict. Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know. So yeah. Well, anyway, that's for me. Okay.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for helping me with this interview.
Hey, no problem at all.
Okay,
Welcome. Anytime.
I'm gonna stop recording now.